Since its foundation in 1970, Community Youth Services expanded to be the largest child welfare agency serving Southwest Washington. Today, CYS offers several programs that empower at-risk youth and their families. To talk more about CYS and the services they provide, we have Derek Harris, the CEO of Community Youth Services. Hi, Derek. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
How has your routine changed since the social distancing?
Community Youth Services is an essential organization that's been serving our community for over 50 years now. We currently provide services across the domains of behavioral health and wellness, shelter and housing, out-of-home care, juvenile justice, education and employment, and early intervention. And really, our organization serves over 6,000 youth, young adults, and families every single year. So, along with many other businesses and social service agencies, we had to make the alterations to our services to address the social distancing and universal precaution needs, as well as ensure that we continue to meet our mission and serve vulnerable youth and young adults. Although today our main office building, the doors are closed to public access, we continue to provide all the same services that the community has grown to rely on over the course of decades of committed service. Our CYS Board of Directors and CYS Senior Leadership, we have maintained the regular monthly board meetings online. Board committees have been done online. Our board has been really incredibly supportive of helping us navigate all these challenges. We've actually increased our meetings with our leadership team. We have over 30 members of our senior leadership and leadership team, and we're meeting daily and weekly to talk about successes, challenges, strategic changes that need to take place to continue to serve our community. Really, the leadership team, as well as all the employees of CYS, have been courageous, resilient, and extraordinary in rising to this occasion by being creative, flexible, and conducting our services in new ways, and meeting our mission of serving vulnerable youth, young adults, and their families.
Yeah, it's actually like everybody's more busy now because you have to talk about what are we going to do? How are we going to overcome this? And yeah, I see the need for more meetings and everything. Now you have the doors closed to the facilities, but you're there, you're at the facility. What kind of protocols are in place for people that are still coming into the place, and what are you providing for people? What are you guys doing to stay safe at that location?
Yeah, so Community Youth Services has been a home, school, and community-based agency, as well as we have essential shelter service programs that can really not close during the pandemic because of the vulnerable nature of our participants. So, some of the major things I talked about earlier is we're social distancing, universal precautions, a lot of meetings through Zoom and Teams. For 2/3 of our organization, we moved to a work from home and teleworking, recognizing that our participants and young adults are out in the community, and we could do a lot of work that way. So we implemented 90% of the time at home, 10% of the time in the office, just to do our part to make sure that we really reduced any of the spreading of this pandemic, as well as we recognize that our parents who work at CYS have their young children in a home now. They need to have that, they need to be a teacher, an employee, and work through all those different challenges. But I'll just kind of highlight a few of the programs at CYS. We have quite a few different ones. I just like to highlight kind of some of the changes that we've made and adaptations, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so we have essential shelter services, and that would be Rosie's Place Young Adult Shelter, which houses with shelter 18 to 24-year-olds. Haven House and New Directions are 2 teen shelter facilities. We had to reduce capacity in some regards and increase capacity in other regards, just to make sure that we're maintaining social distancing, but still being able to shelter people who need that shelter service in their time of need. Instead of doing a traditional drop-in center at Rosie's Place, where we would typically have about 40 people congregating receiving intensive services, we had to move to kind of more of like a drive-through type service where we have time-limited number of individuals in the space, and they're there for a much briefer time period, and they can come through the facility about 3 times a day. So there's a lot of organization behind that. But with that, we still are meeting those basic needs of showers, laundry, case management, and so forth, food, and that. Participants in those programs are getting health screening questions, they're getting temperature checks, and we're monitoring those individuals who might have any sort of symptoms to kind of quarantine from the rest of the population to make sure that those people are safe. And we've been working with the county and the cities on what to do in case something happens that we think someone needs to be tested and go to the county quarantine site. For some of our other services that can operate outside of facilities, our street outreach teams now are doing more street outreach patrols throughout the community, looking for those young people who may be displaced because of the pandemic or maybe new to homelessness. And we want to try to get them into safety and stability as soon as possible. For those youth that need family preservation support, we're still assigning therapists, still having therapists work with those families both online and some in social distancing kind of mechanisms. Independent living skills is still happening in the same kind of way. A really neat thing is like prior to us moving into the pandemic, our behavioral health services were, and that's the transition age youth program and multi-systemic therapy program, both were already in an electronic health record system and already have the capacity to do telehealth, much like some of the hospitals can do. And so we're able to provide behavioral health intakes and services online and through our electronic health record system, which has just been crucial because you know how important mental health and substance use disorder can be during a pandemic. Just a few more here. Our Parents as Teachers program, which is a home-based home visiting program, are now allowed to and can do virtual home visits. It supports families with children ages 0 through 5, and it helps to provide those families and parents with parenting skills that they may not have developed before. And it really helps those young people to be stabilized in those homes during those very crucial years. Just a couple other ones, juvenile diversion. We're still doing referrals and conducting community accountability boards with recommendations towards restorative justice and through our online sessions. Young adult housing. We're still able to move youth through the coordinated entry system. We're moving 18 to 24-year-olds into housing units. And really the coordination on this is really tricky. We're moving furniture, finalizing paperwork, we're having some roommate meetings, we're making sure that the units are ready. And we're doing this all kind of like with people not all in the same room and teaming like we did before. We have to do multiple different meetings to make sure that this all happens safely and correctly for a young person to move into a new unit of housing. And then finally, our foster care program, we have a number of foster homes, and we're able to still conduct both in-person and virtual services to those foster families. And in many cases, we're actually talking to those families much more than we were even before, just through the use of technology. So we're still placing youth into those homes, and foster care is also still recruiting and licensing foster homes. And I'll just kind of make a quick plug on that one. If you're interested in becoming a foster parent, our foster parent number is 1-888-R-FOSTER. I'm holding up a bumper sticker that we give out to the community for people to put onto their cars. And our community needs foster families. And even during a pandemic, young people need a safe place to go and to bond with the family.
There we go. Yeah, I was going to ask you to raise it up because we've got a graphic there. So now they can see it. Excellent. So, you know what a lot of people don't get is that a lot of these at-risk youth, they don't have smartphones where they can just get on social media, and we get so much information from our social media. We learn about the virus. So you probably have to do a lot of education, right? Maybe even flyers and stuff. What's that been like? Have you found that you've had to educate a lot of these youth on what the virus is and what to do to stay safe?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we're doing a lot of communication around that. I think that initially we thought that, young people might be resistant to us doing like, pre-health screening questions or, wearing masks or, kind of talking about where they've been or who they've been hanging out with. But I really think that they get that this is something bigger than all of us and everybody needs to do their part. And so we try to give a lot of messaging and information that can help support them to make good decisions. Obviously, we try to stick to the facts of the data and the science behind this and not really kind of go down any rabbit holes of any kind of rumors or conspiracies or those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And we try to have a consistent messaging with them of, we're all going through something right now and we're all doing the best we can. And but let's not put the additional pressure on ourselves if things aren't working the way that they were during normal times. And really, the other point that you made is, have we been able to expand our ability to reach out to participants and meeting them where they're at? And so maybe phone or maybe email isn't their preferred choice of communication right now. Maybe it's through social media chat, or maybe it's through other methodology that they feel more comfortable and are more connected to. And so as long as it's safe and we can still protect, health information and that client record, we're willing to really meet them where they're at and kind of have those ongoing check-ins and dialogue with them. But there's been other, things that have happened in community during the order to stay at home that I think that we really don't know yet. And that I think that will be kind of more revealing. Some of the things that we're thinking about of, there's more parents at home right now, more trying to balance being like a teacher, a parent, and an employee all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We know that for those parents out there that have a well-adjusted home, it can cause more family conflict. It can cause more arguments in the home. It can cause all those different very things that, a well-adjusted family might be experiencing right now.
That's true.
So we're honestly, we're monitoring those family conflicts and trying to see if there's ways that we can have our services come forward to kind of help balance those things out. We know that there's the potential that there's more child abuse and neglect cases happening out there right now than are being reported. Mm-hmm. And then we think that at some point in time, some of those things will come to light, and CYS's services will matter just as much now, or even more so now, because those things are happening in the home and those situations will have to be worked with. Young people in our communities right now, especially at-risk youth, have less places to hang out. There's no parks to be at. There's no places where they normally would hang out with some of their peers as safety nets or supports. They can't congregate together anymore. And so, due to some of the reduction in capacity and social distancing and those kind of things, we just think that there's less resources in general out there beyond like community youth services and what we do. We just think less of those normal things that young people might go do right now aren't around. You or I can't go hang out at the mall. Neither can young people. Mm-hmm. And that's just some of those things that I think that we have to recognize will have some impacts now, but we should all be monitoring as a community about what's going to be happening 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, based on what's going on now.
How can the community help with your mission? What are the things they could do? Give you money? They could maybe keep an eye out for youth that are in trouble?
Yeah, I think we haven't had to cancel any services at CYS. And so, I think if you see that there's a young person in need and you can help them get connected to our resources, following just our normal communityyouthservices.org email address could get people connected, and we could probably put that up on the screen later. Mm-hmm. But we haven't had to cancel any services. In some regards, we've been able to expand some of the services. We had got to increase some shelter capacity in one community, and that'll help serve more people during their time of need. But really what we're telling the community to do right now is check out our website, check out our social media. We typically will have an ongoing running list of what the support needs are. If someone wants to make a general cash donation or something like that, they're able to do so. And I have to tell you that the community has been responsive so far. We have community members and board members making us masks. People out there hunting for, personal protective equipment that's allowable for us to have. People out there searching for things that we can help to clean surfaces with and disinfect surfaces with. And that's just been incredible to be able to receive that kind of support during this time.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time. Is there anything you'd like to add before we let you go?
Well, I'm just going to talk about just a couple more things real briefly. CYS had to postpone our 50th birthday, which was going to be a celebration, and it was also coinciding with our building restoration and improvement campaign. CYS hasn't asked the community for support for our buildings in over 20 years, and so it's a due for us to be able to make some general repairs. We're going to be coming back to the community once it's safe to do so and once the economy has stabled to kind of go back with that. We're doing our grant campaign right now to do some of those funds, but we'll be seeking some other ones as well. There's two programs that I just kind of want to highlight really quickly. Our CYS Youth in Service AmeriCorps program is recruiting members and youth serving sites for the 2020-2021 year. Our members are 18 to 25-year-olds that are placed into other community service organizations. And those members receive an education award of over $6,000 after 10.5 months of service. If people are interested in looking at that, we're recruiting right now, and they can go to our website that I mentioned before and find out about that. One last program, multi-systemic therapy is also accepting new referrals, and there's a minimal wait time for this. And this is one of those ones that I'm telling you helps to keep families together during family conflict times. In Thurston County, youth with any medical insurance can be accepted into the program at no cost to the family. And to refer a youth, a referral form can be found on our CYS website. The last thing I just want to say, just as a final thought, is that CYS is successful not only because of the work of our agency employees, but from our community partners, funders, and donors. And we'd not be able to do what we're doing through this pandemic and beyond without their partnership and support. And we are just extremely grateful for the support of our community and grateful to you all for being able to talk about how we're doing during this time.
All right. Well, thanks, Derek. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you so much.
For more information on the services available or to make a donation, please visit communityyouthservices.org. To become a foster parent, call 1-888-RFOSTER. That's all we have for you today. Tune in next time for more updates. Again, if you have any questions or suggestions for something we should cover, send an email to rkam@tcmedia.org. Stay home, stay updated with Thurston Community Media, and stay safe, Thurston County.